والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم ألهمنا مراشد أمورنا وأعذنا من شرور أنفسنا. In the chapters that a person finds if he has to go through the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one very important chapter is what is known as Babu Hubbu Allah, the chapter of having love for Allah, wa hubbun lillah. And then is the chapter of having love for Allah. One is having love for Allah, meaning loving Allah. And one is loving somebody else for Allah. One is loving Allah, one is loving somebody else for Allah. It is these two that we have found majority of the people of present times negligent of both. In the past, certain ulama would say it is wajib to have love for Allah. When I read that, I thought of myself when I was small. I never knew there is something called the love of Allah. We always knew you must be scared of Allah. Allah will punish you. Watch out. So naturally that first training of Almighty Allah was the training of a very fierce creator. If a person is never told to show love, sometimes he becomes negligent of knowing that there's supposed to be love. Many a time where a marriage problem happens and when they ask the couple, what was the issue? So the wife says that my husband is a very good man. Very good man. Good man means that he brings food to the house. So he says, so what's the fight about? Says he doesn't show love. So when you ask the husband like, why don't you show love? He says, how? That sentence, how, means I never knew you have to show love. I thought I have to be a husband. So a husband, I have to give a shelter. When a person is told you have to show love, it means you'll have to do something that shows you appreciating. So if she made food, eating the food doesn't show you enjoyed the food. He'll say, I always eat the food. I never ever told her one day I'm going to my mother's house. She says, one day did you ever tell her the food was nice? He says, that girlfriend, boyfriend does. He says, that was called showing love. You never did it. He said, she's a big auntie now, what do you have to do that for? You'll say, you'll never know how it makes a person happy. Because he never showed love, his love for her never increased. And she was not going to respond with love. A time came later on where the relationship became dry. Each one never wanted to be with the other. Because the one who was supposed to start never started. And if someone had to tell him later on why you never started, he said, perhaps no one ever told me I have to show love. I thought love is love. What is showing love? Nabi Sallallahu taught the world, you'll have to show love to Almighty Allah. Quran spoke about love for Allah. It is love that made people sacrifice. He taught them that Allah is to be loved. If you love Allah and the Rasul of Allah, that word love made a lot of changes in their life. When you start loving someone more than you love something else, I have explained this in a certain few lectures of recent times, because we have reached the times now where girls, on the age of 15, 16, they shouldn't have. But the world that we live in has made people physically mature before mental maturity. So that girl physically she's mature, which means that she got enough desire to demand she must get married. But she wasn't supposed to be of that age. But the world we're living in has made boys and girls physically mature. But they're not yet mentally mature. So when that girl goes and tells her father, Daddy, I want to get married. You know how hard it's for a girl to tell her father, I want to get married. What's the amount of courage for a girl to go up? And for that father then to shout her and say, you stupid or what? That's like you broke that girl after. For a girl to tell her father, I need to get married, itself is qiyamah. For the father then to say, are you mad or what? It's putting her in Jahannam. That father has to go back and think, what is she talking about? But he can't tell her. So it means she's physically mature, but she's not mentally mature. This world. So at that time when girls come and tell their father, I have seen examples where the father told her, get lost. Like, that you don't know how to even look after a kitchen, you're not mature. But what he meant, you're not mentally mature. But physical maturity she got already. So he told her, get lost. So he says in 1 week, whatever love had been created for 16, 17 years with his daughter, he saw it lost in 1 week. So he came to ask me, how could she be like this? So that's when I explained to him, you see, love does amazing things. Even if it's lust. But it's love according to her. Love can make you forget the one who has been kind to you for 16 years. Overnight you can hate that person. I told him, you'll lose your daughter. It's not that she doesn't love you, she loves someone more than you now. This love was taught to the ummah, that if you can learn to love Allah, it is not that the other things around have no attraction. But because the love of Allah was never introduced, that's the only attraction at the moment. So the world is seeing stars, they never know there's the existence of a sun. When the sun comes out, the stars don't disappear, it's just you can't see them anymore. When our people never learned the love of Allah, we saw many other things which are also beloved. But they're not Allah. They're not Allah. Sahaba radiallahu anh saw them like me and you see them. They saw gold, they saw silver. But there was something that they had in their life which was greater than the gold or silver. They were introduced to the love of Allah. Where Allah allowed yes, they said yes. Where Allah said no, they said no. For them to bleed in the love of Allah would make them happy, which makes me and you sad. Everything happens with love. Love makes a person sacrifice and he smiles. We have to learn this love, but that is one. Then there was a second one he introduced them. It was called Hubbun ar-Rajula Lillah. To be able to love another man for Allah. This is the easy one. This is one that many a time we haven't heard people speaking about. People perhaps feel shy about it. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam encouraged this. You see, there's a tree, it's called the tree of Islam. Some of the branches are very high. And we always look at those high branches and I say, I wish I could reach there. Junaid Baghdadi is there, Hassan al-Basri is there. Going higher than them, the great Imams are there, the Sahaba are there, Tabi'in are there. People I love. Allah's Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, where he is in the tree. Lovely branches. But if ever you went to a tree to climb, someone will have to teach you, you can't just jump to the top. So they will tell you that branch which is the closest to you. Try and hold on to that one first. And then learn to reach a lower branch which will push you onto a higher branch. Lower branches. Sometimes we look at the highest branch. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam taught his Sahaba, radiyallahu anhum, that to get to the highest branches, if you can't get there right immediately, try for a lower branch. So a Sahabi radiyallahu anh asked a question, Ar-Rajul yuhibbul qawm. That a man loves sometimes people. He was referring to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Abu Bakr and Umar. See, he loves them. وَلَمَّا يَلْحَقْ بِهِمْ. So many years have passed, he hasn't yet reached where they are. And he doesn't think he's going to get there. Doesn't think. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam answered, Al-mar'u ma'a man ahabba. A man will be with who he loves. Hence now. Because the only thing I got is, I'm not them, I only love them. So it's like I'm on the lower branch looking up at them and smiling. Being on the lower branch is not going to push you up. But Allah Tabarak Ta'ala gave so much of honor to this love that I'll make sure you reach up. This is that one branch which me and you can all jump on. This branch doesn't mean I must be Abu Bakr and Umar. Anas radiallahu anh says, from the time I heard this, I began saying, I love Allah's Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I love Abu Bakr, I love Umar radiallahu anhu. Trying to say, me, I'm not Abu Bakr and Umar, but love for them, that I can do. So from the time, Abu Dharr radiallahu anh heard this. That a man loves a qawm, but he's not yet there. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, he'll be with them. Abu Dharr radiallahu anh said, but that's there on its place. But me, I love the Nabi of Allah. Which means the Nabi of Allah is where he is going to be. Where Abu Dharr? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied, Al-mar'u, a man will be with who he loves. Abu Dharr radiallahu anh says, no, but I love the Nabi of Allah, meaning he's too high. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam again says, Al-mar'u, a man will be with who he loves. It's a miracle, this love, which is called the love of someone for Allah. It is not hard, this one. Because man can relate with man, that's why we call insan. Ask a boy, you love a soccer player. So why he loves that soccer player? Because it's a man who got a skill. But it's a man. You won't find him saying, I love the elephant. But the elephant can kick the ball much harder than a man can kick the ball. But the elephant is not his. Man is his. So that man only got one skill and this boy fell in love with that man. One skill. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam taught us to fall in love with people who got a unique skill. Because that soccer player's love is not going to take you up the tree. Unfortunately, it might take you down the tree. But they are love for the lovers of Allah, which allows a person to go higher. It was not restricted to the love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was restricted to loving anyone for Allah. Abu Idris al-Khawlani was a great tabi'i. He used to go search for the Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When he would find them, he just would look for them because he says, I love you because you love my messenger. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So whenever he would go to a masjid and then he would ask, like, which Sahabi is in this masjid? So he says, I entered into the masjid of Damascus. I noticed in the front, Fatan, a youngster, Sahaba radiallahu anh, Allah Tabarak Ta'ala gave them that young look. So even youngsters were attracted to them. Even when they became old, they had a young look. He said, I saw Fatan, a youngster. But now, the youngster is speaking about Mu'adh bin Jabal radiallahu anh, he's not so young anymore. But he got that look. Barraq al-Thanaya, he says his teeth are shining like. They were handsome. They were beautiful. People, he said, I saw around them. He said, I saw people around him, whenever they had any question, they just went to him. وَصَدَرُوا عَنْ رَأْيِهِ. Whatever he said, matter was finished. Like how you say, Hazrat said it, finished, game over. Like that only happens when there's love. When there's no love, the great mufti can pass a fatwa, the man will tear the fatwa. When there's love, a man makes an indication with the eye and the lover understands what the indication is. Love. They had love for Sahaba, radiyallahu anhu. Lot of love. Lot of love. So he asked, who is this? They said, this is Mu'adh bin Jabal, radiyallahu anhu. He said, I needed to meet him, but I knew this is not the time. Too many people around him. So I said, I'll come early. The earliest for Fajr will be me in the masjid. So when the Sahabi comes, he'll have to sit next to me. Then I got him for me, like few minutes before the Salah, I can talk. He said, very early I went to the masjid, but I found he was there before me already. He was already there. So now I said, I'll have to wait. I said, I'd rather get him before the first Salah. After the first, he'll sit down, everyone will come around. So I'm waiting. As soon as he made his salam, I go up to him. What sentence he will say? First sentence he says, by the qasam of Allah, I love you. First sentence. Wallah inni la uhibbuk. They were taught that. Young children must be taught, you see a pious man, go up to him, don't feel shy. And say to the person, Wallah, I love you. When you will say that, you will understand loving the pious is a demand of Iman. When you will give expression to it, Hazrat Shah Hakim Muhammad Akhtar Sahib, Rahimullah, recently my brother translated his life story, the Rumi of the century, I think the name of the kitab is, it's something to read. The Rumi of the 21st century. One unique part of the day, he speaks about when he was young. We all know him when he was old. He was the wali of the era. He speaks about when he was young. He says, as a young boy, Allah blessed me with the love of pious people. He said, whenever I would look at someone pious, I would just stare at that person. It made him happy to go up to a person and he'd say, I love you. Like, he loved the pious people. As soon as he would tell them, I love you, natural reaction is the pious person has to give him time. That I also love you. The child has to be taught. He said, Wallah, I love you. Immediately Mu'adh bin Jabal radiallahu anh will give him that look. And he asked him, Allah, by the qasam of Allah. He says, by the qasam of Allah, I love you. He says, then glad tidings to you. Because I heard Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam saying, Wajabat mahabbati lil mutahabbina fiyya. that if one person loves another person for Allah, they are called two lovers for Allah. But in that two lovers, one person is high on the tree. The other person is on the low branch. One person perhaps is not on a branch also. But Almighty Allah said, my love becomes wajib for both of them. My love becomes wajib for both of them. So the one on the top of the tree, I understood why you getting the love of Allah. You really did the work. What about me? Why I'm getting it? I did nothing except I love you. Allah loves this love so much. I'll give you an example. A mother loves her child. But which child? She loves both, but she shows compassion to the weak always. Because the stronger is carrying on his own. So let's say the nephew, bigger, because normally you got your nephew and you got your son. So your son will always look up to his bigger cousin. So the bigger cousin comes to the house, he's riding his bicycle. So the small son in the house, he also wants to ride with his cousin because you keep up with the group. If you want a horse to ride fast, what you do? You let it ride with the other horses. Jalaluddin Rumi rahimullah said, people ask how to change my children. I say to them, if you want your horse to run fast, put your horse with the fast horses. If you want your child to be unique, put him with those who are unique. Allow him to sit in the company of good people, he'll naturally behave good. Keep him away and then tell him, run fast, run fast, run fast. You'll have to hit him also, you won't run. The suhbat that we had in the past is no longer found. Where young children were encouraged to meet older people. Where young children were told, find a pious person and go to the man and say, I love you. Then try and say, can I travel with you? Can I be with you? There will be enough in the world. But you can't be shy. This company which the world had in the past is like dying. It has to be revived. It is that branch which makes you go to the high branch. So the young boy is riding bicycle with his cousin. Cousin doesn't fall. The cousin knows how to ride bicycle. But the young boy is trying to keep up with his cousin. So the cousin is on the high branch. The young boy is on the low branch. He can't keep up. When he falls, what does the mother do? The mother will come and put him on the bicycle. The mother will actually run as he's pedaling. Just to make sure I am fulfilling your desire to be with the elder. When the mother will put him on that, Almighty Allah puts the person up the branch also. When he said he hasn't yet reached, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Al-mar'u, a man will be with who he loves. That if you can't get there, Almighty Allah in compassion will make sure you get there. Somehow or the other, this is that branch which I find the easiest to everyone. And the opposite, if you have to love those who are at the bottom of the tree not climbing up, their love can pull you to the bottom, under the ground. The shaitani world that we live in has pushed this love a lot in the world. They have introduced us to people of skill of the world. Sports skills, wrestling skills, master skills. It's a skill. When we saw the skill, we thought the man behind is the skill. So we fell in love with him. If you have to go in that man's character, you will realize the skill is different, you different. I'm not supposed to love you, but just on one skill we fell in love. They introduced, we fell in love. Where we're supposed to fall in love, we never fall in love. Allah Tabarak Ta'ala make us look at that direction. There will always be someone who you will look at and you will look at a second time. إِذَا رُؤُوا ذُكِرَ اللَّهِ. When they are seen, they remind you of Allah. When you hear them, your inclination for akhirah goes. Your disinclination from the world is created. Now you love that person. But you always kept yourself back. They were taught, go up to the person and tell the person, Wallah, I love you. Just on that sentence, if you get this wajabat, where Allah says, my love now becomes wajib for you. When that love of Allah becomes wajib, the door just opens up. Allah Tabarak Ta'ala make us all the lovers of Allah and make all of us love people for the sake of Allah. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.